Hey listeners, have you heard of a surprising event referred to as a kismet moment when fate, destiny, or maybe just a lucky coincidence seems to bring people or circumstances together? It describes a magical meant-to-be spark. In adoption, there are a ton of these kismet moments, and I want to hear them. An adoptee who found out her biological sister had lived down the street from her entire childhood. A family who called the agency to say they were done, and the agency called them back the next week with a baby born. A birth mom who chose a family out of hundreds, and when she told them the name she'd chosen for her baby, they'd already picked the same one. I'm collecting these kinds of moments for an upcoming episode of the Adoption Roadmap. The moments in adoption that feel less like luck and more like the universe had a plan all along. If you have a moment to share, press pause right now. Go ahead, press pause. Click on the link in the show notes and submit yours today. Now back to the show. 32 years ago, when her daughter was placed with her adoptive family, Janelle Basham wasn't in the room. She was on a blue couch a state away, watching TV, and she'll be the first one to tell you that moment was not beautiful. That word, beautiful, is one of the things we get into today because a lot of what we say in the adoption world lands really differently when you're the birth mom. Precious gift, put up for adoption. Adoption is beautiful. Janelle is a birth mom of 32 years and the Executive Director of BraveLove, a nonprofit organization focused on education, support, and resources for birth moms. Today, we talk about what hopeful adoptive parents need to hear from the birth mom side, what she's seen when it comes to regret, coercion, and broken openness agreements, what a birth mom is going through in the hospital, and why consistency after placement is everything. Before we get into my conversation with Janelle, I want to give a shout out to a listener who left us a review. This one is from Fangirl with a PH and GILR, but I'm going to call her Fangirl. She said, "I love this podcast. Rebecca focuses on the important things in adoption. I'm so grateful she is sharing this wealth of knowledge. Plus, I can tell she's an authentic, awesome person. Highly recommend." Well, thank you, Fangirl. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad that my personality is shining through. That means the world to me. And if this show has helped you at any point on your journey, will you also take 30 seconds and leave a review? It might be the one I read at the top of the next episode. All right. Now my conversation with Janelle. Welcome to the Adoption Roadmap podcast. Your dream is to become a parent. My dream is to help you get there. I'm Rebecca Greenspan, an adoptive mom who's guided over 500 families through the beauty and complexity of adoption. Through my work with families and professionals across the country, I've seen what actually moves people forward and what holds them back. Each week, I bring you practical advice, expert voices from all sides of adoption, and the positivity you need to navigate your journey with clarity, confidence, and trust. Let's get into it. Hey, real quick, if you're listening to this podcast because you're seriously considering adoption, you don't have to figure this out alone. At RG Adoption Consulting, my team and I guide hopeful families through every step of the adoption process using our proven 4-step roadmap. In 2025, 62% of our families brought their baby home within 12 months. If that sounds like something you're ready for, we'll help you figure out your next best steps. Book a complimentary adoption strategy session at rgadoptionconsulting.com. Janelle, I am so thrilled that you agreed to be a guest on our podcast today. I've been wanting to have you on for a while. So I'm going to just jump in, and I would love for you to just give us a high-level overview of your story and how you got into this work.
It's definitely not something that, as a little girl, I thought, oh, I want to work in adoption someday. It's life experience for me. So at 16 years old, I went through an unexpected pregnancy. And just through life, I decided that I should consider an adoption plan for the child that I was carrying. So made an adoption plan for my daughter at 17, and then decided like, hey, I need to help people. I need to understand this more. And so dove into adoption. Worked at a private adoption agency, though actually the one that I used for my daughter's placement. Went on to oversee a group home, and then went on in my career to work with young adults aging out of foster care. So my career has been very interesting, and while I was in it, I was like, oh, how are these pieces all working together? And now being the executive director of BraveLove, it makes sense. So very thankful for the journey that I've been on, and thankful for the women and individuals that I get to walk alongside in this journey.
So, was your journey of placement a positive one?
Yes, very much so.
Okay. I'd imagine so because you chose this work.
Yes.
So,
yes. I was very ignorant to the fact when I got into adoption that everybody didn't have this experience. And I think that's one of the things that really fuels me is I feel very blessed to have a very positive, supported decision in my whole adoption process. And everybody should have that opportunity if they choose to make this decision. And I think that's one of the things that really drives me.
well, I love that you said not everybody has this experience. And
Yeah.
I just want to say, not everybody has everybody else's experience. And when we
Yeah.
go online, so often we hear one person talking for an entire universe of people. And
Right.
that you
Right.
just take that with a grain of salt, because when you're reading these things,
Yes.
you're reading one person's experience.
Exactly. I'm very sensitive to that when I share my
Yeah.
story, because I don't want these hopeful adoptive parents to think, oh, this is how my story is going to be, or this is what we get to look forward, because everybody's journey is so different. And even though I have that gift of hindsight to say, this was the beautiful part of my story and my journey, there were also some icky parts in there too. And so when I talk to people, I have that gift of 32 years of a journey. You're not talking to me at 5 years or 10 years. This has been decades now.
Yeah, you've worked through all the things, and we're going to get to some of that. But having worked in this industry for so long and now focused mostly on birth moms, or totally on birth
Yes.
moms, in your best estimate, and I know that data in the adoption world is really difficult. So just talking
It
like
is.
your experience, I want to talk about a little bit of data that you're seeing. What percentage of birth moms do you think regret their decision to place?
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough because being a birth mom is very, very personal and also a very lonely journey. So hearing from women who aren't happy with their placement decision or their communication or whatever part of their adoption, a lot of those women stay quiet and don't know how to use their voice. Or a lot of them are going to social media and blasting it out there. So we can do the research. BraveLove and NCFA and Opt Institute did some research back in 2023, and it was birth parents. So there were birth moms and about 230 birth fathers out of, I believe, 1,400. Two-thirds said that they were content with their adoption, and 1 in 5 said that they were not. And then the rest were just neutral on it. But adoption is so fluid. So if you would have asked me at one part in my journey when I was really struggling, were you content? I don't know what my answer would have been. Versus now, you have to get to a certain point in this adoption journey to be able to say, yeah, this is okay. This turned out okay.
And content is a little bit different than regret. You can still regret
Yes.
your decision and have content.
Absolutely.
I was actually surprised at that. I would have thought it would have been a higher number, just because that's what we read all the time about all these women who regret their decision or
Sure.
really struggled with it. And we don't hear enough of the other side of things too. And I know that there's a lot of both. Okay, so
Yeah.
on that same line, do you hear from a lot of women who felt coerced or pressured into placing?
Absolutely. That breaks my heart because it's one of the things that I'm passionate about. If a woman feels coerced or that this isn't her decision, how can she move through this relationship and through this decision without having regret? And where does that coercion come from? Does it come from community? Does it come from her own family? Does it come from the father of the child?
Or the agency?
It's tough. The agency, yes. I'm like, there's another big one in there. I can't remember.
Yeah, the agency or even the family, depending on
Right.
how.
Right. And so looking at adoption, we all want to look at metrics of, are we being successful? So is an agency saying, hey, we had this many placements this year, so we're being successful? Or is it, we met with this many women and we gave them all of their options and we presented ethically all of the good, the bad, the ugly of adoption and parenting, and let her make this decision because she's going to be the one that has to live with it, not the agency, not the adoptive parents. It is on the expectant mom's shoulders.
Yeah, I was talking to an agency yesterday, and she was somebody who was newer in the industry. She's young, and she felt the need to tell me. She said, well, we only worked with this many birth moms, but I talked to many more, just they don't all go through it. And I'm thinking, well, I hope so. I hope if you're doing your job that you talk to way more moms than actually move forward with it, because then we're helping them make some decisions or asking the hard questions. And I also think as far as coercion or pressure, and tell me if I'm wrong, sometimes I think, am I really that naive? I've been working in this industry for 13 years and I'm still hearing a lot of, from the loud voices. We all know there's always going to be loud voices who people like think are the all holy grail. That's not true. They're just louder sometimes. But I hear the loudest voices talking about how coercion is still prevalent. And that is not my experience, as I am asking the hard questions of the agencies that we tend to work with more often, and the experiences of my clients that I work with, the families I work with. Is that still happening today? I know it was huge in like the 60s.
Oh, yes.
It is.
Where we're moving in a much better direction. We have a lot of work still that we have to do, but I think just as technology has advanced, women and expectant couples can go online and get the information rather than it being passed down from grandma to mom to the expectant mom. And I think agencies are really opening their eyes to, we need to do better. Now that people are doing their DNA tests and finding each other and the secrecy isn't there anymore, not like it was back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s, there's more transparency. So when there's more transparency, we have to do better. Is coercion still around? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's why BraveLove and other organizations are like, we can raise the bar. We can do this. And women, they deserve the best, and they deserve to be able to make these decisions on their own. And if they choose not to make an adoption plan, okay, how can we help you make a parenting plan? We just want you to be successful.
Do you think the pressure is coming from agencies still a lot, or do you think it's coming more internally in their own family units or outside pressures?
That's a great question. I think it comes from everywhere, even culturally in different communities. If you're a part of a faith-based community, is there going to be more talk of adoption there? I think it can really just come from anywhere, and usually where you're not expecting it. From a mom or a grandmom, who says this is the best option for you, or you can't come home with a child. From a community that says the words that are so hurtful of, you're giving a precious gift. And using our language is so important. So sometimes even the language that we use can be coercive. And so that's what education is just so important.
Okay. And then my last kind of data-driven question is, what percentage of the moms that you talk to do you hear that the adoptive parents are actually following through on the openness level that they promised versus ghosting or not following?
Yeah. There isn't data out there that I could find. I got your questions ahead of time and I started Googling. I'm like, okay, there's got to be something solid out there. And, from my perspective, and this is just me, this is not, representing anybody.
Sure.
But the birth parents and the adoptive parents that have a beautiful open adoption where there's boundaries and there's trust and there's consistency, they're not out there really sharing too much about all the beautiful parts about their adoption. They're living their life. I wish that was talked about more, because there are so many people that have these hopeful adoptive parents that they go into this adoption journey doing their research and they're seeing like the benefits of open adoption or consistent communication. And then they move forward with it and they have these beautiful relationships. But then we hear so often of these birth moms who have the complete opposite experience. And it literally, every single time I hear about it, it breaks my heart. And couples or adoptive people who go into it making these promises of this is what we want, and then the placement happens, and all of a sudden they're like, we're not okay with her behavior, or we're not okay with this anymore, or we want to focus more on the child. And everything that she had built her adoption plan on, it's gone. Yeah. So looking at the rest of her life, how is that going to impact future relationships? How she sees herself. Am I worthy? Am I enough? And so for those women that go through it, like my heart just breaks. And hearing a lot of times from women saying they made all of these promises and they didn't follow through. They were too busy, or this happened, or I made this decision. I hear of women talking about, I don't want to mess up. I feel like I'm walking on eggshells, because I know in a moment they can pull that communication and then they're gone. That relationship is broken. So I am just so thankful that with the education that's happening, more adoptive parents are realizing this is necessary for the birth mother to be able to embrace healing, but mostly for the child. The child needs to know this is your story and your story's okay. Going back to your question, there's so many women out there that have that broken communication, and we have to do better. We have to do better, not only for these women, but for these kids.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important for families to understand that we all go through seasons. I heard this beautiful story, which has nothing to do with adoption. I heard this beautiful story on Instagram. It was somebody asking an older man, how have you loved the same woman for so many years? Mm-hmm. And he said, I haven't. Every 6 years, she's a new woman. And I love that new version of herself because I choose to love that new version of herself. Every 6 years we become, I don't know what there's a thing that however, maybe it's 6 years, we have kind of become a new version of ourselves through growth and everything that we do in life. And I think that, wow, first of all, how beautiful, right? That we have to adapt in our relationships. But just because you feel a certain way today, or the birth mom is acting a certain way today, or your child is feeling a certain way today, that is all going to evolve and change. And who are you to slam the door forever on something that may be so beautiful in just another year or two, if you can just leave that door open, that porch light on, right?
Yeah. I am so thankful to my daughter's parents, because if they would have put me in that box of this is Janelle at 17 versus Janelle at 25 versus who I was even 10 years ago, they gave me space to be who I was, to grow, to heal. And we know when we heal, there's yucky parts to that too, and there's pain and there's frustration, but you have to work through it. And I'm beyond thankful to her parents for just letting me be who I needed to be in those different seasons of my life. If you look at my own adoption, when we walked into this adoption placement, things were so different. It was a mediated adoption. We never met. We did not meet until many years down the road. And would they have thought, hey, our daughter's birth mom someday is going to grow up and be an adoption educator and is going to be on podcasts talking about us? Like, really, every adoptive parent needs to think how I'm treating her and loving her. Is she going to be on a podcast someday talking about me?
Yes.
And walking into it like we want to give her the best experience as well.
I never thought about it from the point of view of we are showing her what relationships are all about and who do we want to show up as? Do we want to show up as somebody who follows through with our word and models a beautiful relationship, the hard times and the easy times? Or are we going to be a reason why she suffers in relationships moving forward? Are we just going to be another person who shuts the door on her? She's not making this plan because she has great relationships and beautiful whatever.
Everything's
Life is
wonderful.
so easy.
She's going to make an adoption plan.
Right. Right.
I never want to put my daughter's parents up on a pedestal. They are just humans. They make mistakes too. But if I look back over my life, when I chose them, I saw 2 pictures of them. That's it. And that's because my adoption caseworker accidentally left the pictures on her desk while she went to the bathroom. And it was just like okay, this is going to be okay. These are the faces of the people who are going to be mom and dad to my daughter. And when I was hearing about them and praying about who are these people that I'm going to choose, I was looking for a father because that's what I couldn't give to my daughter. A father that would be there, go to her soccer games, teach her how to play basketball, do the math stuff that I can't do. And I remember writing out, this is what I want. And it was so much on the dad. And basically, I was choosing a man who, that I was like, this is also the type of person that I want in my life someday. And so as I watched, their names are Barb and Dale, as I watched them parent, I was kind of mimicking a lot of stuff. And as I was looking for a partner, I was like, wow, he loves his wife really well. I was looking at them as, I want that for my own life someday. And so a lot of the things that in my own life and my own relationship, it was, hey, if they can get through those hard times, I can too. Not that they're perfect. I think they're perfect, but they don't need to be on a pedestal. But I think so highly of them. And I think they feel the same way about me. I have no reason to think that they don't. But so much of my healing journey is because they loved me and they were consistent. Barb, they adopted 3 children. And back in the 90s, where adoption was all mediated through the agency, and we had to write out our communication contract. And at 17 years old, who knows what you want to do for the next 18 years of your life. But the communication contract was written like letters and pictures for the first year. And I don't even remember after that. I think about this woman sitting down with 3 children, and every month sitting at her kitchen table, writing letters and getting the Kodak pictures together. Like, this wasn't the digital age. And she wasn't just consistent with me, she was consistent with all of the birth parents. And what did that show the children that she was raising? That their birth parents were worthy, that she was dependable, and that she was going to do everything that she needed to do to follow through on those promises that she made the birth parents.
Yes, yes. The choices we make about our children's parents, our kids are seeing that.
Yeah.
And that will only be a reflection on you in their eyes later. So you have choices. Everybody wants to be the best parent they can. This is part of it because this is the path that you chose.
Sure.
Hey, quick break from the episode. If you're new here and wondering if adoption is the right path for you, don't just guess. I created a free 5-minute quiz called Are You Ready to Adopt? That will tell you exactly where you are in the process and what to do next. Thousands of families have already taken it, and it's the perfect starting point. Just head to rgadoptionconsulting.com/quiz or click the link in the show notes. Okay, back to the episode. going back, you said your caseworker accidentally left pictures. Okay,
Accidentally.
first of all, the fact that she had to do that and not let anybody know she did that, but knew it was the right thing and snuck doing that. How wonderful and beautiful of that caseworker to know how important that is to
Yeah.
somebody.
Yep.
And just to show you that that wasn't a thing that long ago. That openness
Right.
is really involved, and
Yes.
birth moms didn't choose the families all the time and
No.
didn't get to see all the beautiful profiles that there are now.
Right. Yeah. I am so thankful for the care that I got, that I received, that I was gifted during my planning. I made a solid parenting plan and a solid adoption plan. And my adoption caseworker helped me make those two plans because it was, hey, Janelle, if this plan doesn't work, we need to have backup. And it was either or. And it was very much voiced to me of these two options are great options. And you can make whatever option, whatever choice you need to make. You're prepared for both of them. I'm still friends with her today. She has such an important part in my life. She's part of my journey and part of my story, part of my daughter's story. And yeah, we still laugh about it. When I went on to work at that same adoption agency,
Yeah.
I actually maybe went into the file and stole those two pictures because I'm like, that's all I had. There's people that make these fabulous books now and their digital profiles. I had two pieces of paper, two pictures on a white piece of paper that were taped on it. I'm like, that was my profile book that I got to see.
Yeah.
So yes, I have those. They're very dated. They would have been from 1993. And I'm like, they're beautiful. I love those two pictures.
Yes, those are the little things, right? And now at BraveLove,
Yes.
I had gone on the website, and you guys do such a fabulous job with your materials. I mean,
Oh, thank you.
I need to know about all this video stuff because you do it so well, and you guys know how to tell a beautiful story.
Aw.
But I went back on the website and I read your mission, and your mission says your mission is to change the perception of adoption.
Yes.
So, of course, I'm curious what you are referring to. What is the perception that you're up against, and what are you doing to shift it? So, what do you think that perception is?
Yeah, a lot. My to-do list is very, very long.
You and me
Changing the
both, honey.
perception, right?
Ugh.
Right? I went into a group one time and didn't introduce myself. I was asked to come speak. I guess they didn't know who was coming to speak. So I started off with a question of, when I say the word birth mom, what comes to mind? And I heard drug addict, inconsistent, unstable. And I'm standing there, I'm like, oh my gosh. And now I'm about to say, hi, I'm Janelle. I'm a birth mom. Yeah.
Wow.
It was so eye-opening. And sometimes I'm in this bubble of BraveLove where we're celebrating the beauty of adoption. And for me to step out of that and be like, those are experiences that people have. And so bringing awareness to, yes, there are icky parts about adoption, but there are also very beautiful parts. So changing the perception of adoption for me is saying, see the faces of women who go through this. See the beauty of them. Even if you don't understand their journey or where they come from, watch some of our videos and your life will be changed. The way you look at adoption will be impacted. Because we don't just need to say birth moms, we need to put names with these people and stories and feelings with these people. Changing the perception of adoption is changing the language that even the kids are hearing. When the language of put up for adoption, educating people, where did that come from? The orphan train. And changing like, hey, let's say place for adoption or made a plan for adoption. Because it needs to be child focused. Changing the perception of adoption is to ultimately help that child process their story and know that wherever their story started, like it's okay. And it's okay to talk about.
Yeah, okay. So it's not just birth moms changing the perception of who a birth mom is. It's changing the language of adoption, basically.
Yeah. And making it comfortable to talk about. Like, how often do people want to talk about adoption and then they go quiet? and they start whispering, and you're like, why are we whispering? We can talk about this. This is an okay topic. As humans, we have tough conversations. So let's get comfortable talking about adoption. We're all impacted by it, whether it's, someone who has been adopted through foster care or whatever. This is a topic that we can talk about and that we should be comfortable talking about. Because for these kids, if we're not comfortable talking about it, it puts shame on them. And that's the last thing a birth mom would ever want, is for her child to feel shame about where they came from.
Or anybody, yeah. So what is BraveLove doing about it? How are you changing the world?
Whew, well, again, that to-do list is so long. It's a lot of different ways. It's education, our video, our storytelling. We are constantly receiving written words from women saying, hey, I want to share my story. All different perspectives. Like stories that aren't great. It's important that their stories are heard as well, so we can all learn from them and do better. It is getting education out there to medical professionals, to adoption agencies, pregnancy care centers. We have tons of resources on our webpage that you can order completely for free. And I invite anybody who's listening to go to bravelove.org and go to our resource page. You can get starter packages there where it's just resources of, hey, can I put these out in my school or in my church? It's trying to change that narrative in all different ways. So the other area that we hit on is also providing community for birth moms. So we do birth mom dinners twice a year. And it's just a time to say, hey, come sit around a table with other women who understand this journey, who speak the same language. We don't have to talk about adoption, but if we want to, we can. And so it's building community, and it's growing. There's a kind of a drive to say, hey, I'm not alone in this. And so that's also part of changing the narrative of, you don't have to be alone. We can come together and sit at a table and talk about the hard stuff if we want to.
I love it. I'm seeing more and more organizations out there that are bringing birth moms together. Specifically, do you partner with them at all, or?
We try.
Yeah.
I am so encouraged by how many organizations are popping up. It's like, this is what we want. This is why we launched almost 15 years ago. It was to build community for birth moms. And I can't tell you how excited I get when a woman will say to me, hey, 10 years ago, I went to a BraveLove dinner and that changed everything for me. There's one woman that I'm very connected with. I think she's been on your podcast.
Oh,
and
really?
I love her. I'm one of her biggest fans. She wanted to pretend like adoption didn't happen. And we all kind of go through that phase of, I just want to go back to my normal life, what that is. And then she went to a BraveLove dinner, and now like she is rocking it in the adoption community. And I'm so thankful that BraveLove had that gift for her to be able to go to this dinner and sit with other women and not feel strange or that she doesn't fit in.
Can we say who it is so people can go listen to her podcast?
We can if we want to. Jessie with Abiding Love
Jessie,
Charities.
yes. It's a triad. It's a triad. Yes, she was one of the first birth mothers I think I had on. Yeah, I'll link her podcast episode too.
Please do. But she's one of so many.
Yeah.
Who it's like, okay, I did this. Now what can I do in my community? And so we're seeing like Facebook groups pop up that are being led by women. And it's not because just of BraveLove. It's because they found their voice. And they're like, hey, I want to do something else. So anytime that we can partner with other organizations or put their resources on our website or our social media, we are all about it. We just sent some swag down to Funding Love, who are getting ready to do a trip for birth moms down in Florida. We want to do anything we can to support these women and just say, hey, you're not alone. And we see you and you have value. And if you need us, we're here.
So birth moms come to you because they know you're a great place to share story and be part of your education. Do they also come to you at the beginning or for therapy or for other kinds of one-on-one support or resources?
Most of the people that reach out are post-placement. So it could be they've just gone through with their placement and they're like, hey, I need community. I need to find other people. One of our films that we released in 2025 was Mary Alice. I encourage everyone to go see her her film on our site. I love her. She is, I don't want to say her age, but she's very wise. And hearing her story, and we have these birth mom dinners, she always comes to the ones that we have in Virginia. And she sits there with women who have maybe placed as recently as like 3 months prior. It's just beautiful of women can come to BraveLove no matter where they are in their journey and say, I need to find community or I need to find a resource. So helping them find an adoption competent counselor in their area, or just like, hey, we know a birth mom in your area. Can we do a group text and connect you all together so you don't feel alone? From time to time, we do have a woman that will reach out and say, hey, I'm expecting. What do I do next? And so we have adoption agencies that we vetted on our website that we are connected with, and we say, here's the link. We never want to send anyone to a specific agency, but here's some resources that we've looked into. It's okay to check these out. If you need to talk to a birth mom who's been there and done that, let us know. And then one of the things that we've recently done is last year in 2025, we launched our Hope and Healing tote bags, which I'm so excited about.
I want to talk about that, but first, before we go into that, I want to come back to vetting the agencies that you will include as someone. How do you vet them? What are you looking for? That is a question I get often as a consultant. I work with families, and that's a difficult one. Because there is no place that you can go to see if they've been vetted and what does vetting mean. I mean, there are starting to be some, but it's such a personal vetting process. What are you looking for and what do you deem as ethical? And so how do you vet and what are you looking for?
It's a heavy weight because the BraveLove team, we're birth moms. We are completely made up of birth moms. And to have an agency reach out and say, hey, we want to be a BraveLove agency, partner agency, is a process. So it's not an easy, we just get their logo and we put it on our website. It's more of an interview. So we're flipping the script and we're saying, okay, we want to hear about the supports that you have for expectant women, for post-placement support. So our program manager, Ashley, actually sets up an interview with the executive director, maybe one of the staff who works with expectant parents, and we want to hear, how many placements have you had this year? How many women are you working with? The same thing that you said earlier in the conversation, to see what do they consider success, and really want to dive into why are they doing what they're doing? What drives them? We interview adoptive parents who have used the agency, and we also connect with birth parents who use the agency. We are really passionate about making sure those that are connected with us are providing post-placement support and really see birth parents and value their voice and see the value in open adoption and transparency. Agencies are going to not hit it right every single time. We know that. We know that there's turnover and there's education that always needs to be done. So those that we are connected with, we have great relationships with them. We provide them education. We do quarterly calls with them just to have those tough conversations of what's going on in the adoption community. What are some of the struggles that you're seeing? This is what we're learning from the birth parent community. So it's really a network of helping them serve birth parents better.
I love that. When you ask them how many placements and that data, what are you looking for?
We're looking for how many placements versus how many women they've met with in 1 year.
Okay, going back to that conversation we had at the beginning. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. Because we want to see that balance. Because if it's somebody that's like, we are here for placements, that's probably not an agency that it would be a good connection for us. Because we support women in whatever decision they make. And if it's parenting, fantastic. We really want to hear that they're doing options counseling right at the very beginning and exploring that to give her time to be able to explore all of her options. Because people have often said BraveLove wants to push adoption. We don't. We want there to be ethical placements. We want women to feel supported in whatever decision they choose.
Absolutely. So I would think that there's two kind of places for agencies and stuff to be active. So there's your referral list, right? But I'm guessing it doesn't matter who you send information to.
Right.
because we can all always get better, right?
Exactly.
Right? Okay. Are birth moms who call you after adoption, are a lot of them finding you through agencies? Like, are agencies
Yes.
referring them to you?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the beautiful things of our partner agencies is we're working together. So even though they are providing post-placement support, a lot of them are saying, hey, go to BraveLove. Check out their videos. They're
Yeah.
also using our videos with the expectant women that they're working with. So they're incorporating BraveLove into their sessions with birth moms as well to really let them hear like the birth parent experience. It's really a partnership when we have agencies that we connect with. And it's not so much of somebody calls and says, hey, I'm pregnant, I need help, and I'm sending them
Yeah.
to an agency. It's more of let's help them post placement and give you the resources that can help you provide her better services while she is making that decision if she wants to make a parenting or an adoption plan.
And do you have therapists in your group on staff, or do you have referral? Do you refer out?
Referrals. Yeah.
Okay.
We do more of a peer to peer kind of
Support
connections.
rather than
Yeah.
therapy. Okay. Awesome.
Yep.
I love it. All right. Now tell us more about Hope and Healing, because I am
Yes.
really interested in this. I love
Okay.
it. And it's actually
I do
something
too.
I had thought about years ago. I'm like, how can we, okay, talk about it.
Yes. Okay. So the Hope and Healing totes, they are bags for women to be given while they're in the hospital. So it's not full of gifts. It's not a, this is going to make your life better type of gift. It is bags that were created by birth moms for birth moms. So while she's in the hospital, we launched it last year with our partner agencies and really used them to say, okay, let's try this out, give us feedback. What are these women saying are helpful? What are they not? So we can make adjustments. So that's one of the way that we partnered and really got some great feedback from them. But we relaunched it just this year, and these bags, they're given to the women while they're in the hospital. There's a letter, a handwritten letter from another birth mom, just saying, you're not alone in this. This is hard. We have a list of recommendations for her while she's in the hospital. Take time with that baby. Take tons of pictures. This is your time to be mom. No matter what decision you make, you're not alone in this. Talking about, gosh, we have another pamphlet in there, just a testimonial of other birth moms with faces so she can see a visual of, okay, there's other women like me. A Ziploc bag, something so simple of, I want to put the baby's blanket or a hat in there so when I go home, it'll still have that scent on it. Chapstick, because everybody needs chapstick. We have a journal in there because we want her to be able to write her thoughts. So many women will journal and then someday give that to the child so they can learn about the journey and just be able to share their feelings and put it down on paper. The number one item that everybody talks about in the bag is we were so blessed that the company Warmies donated weighted heart pillows to us. And
I love that.
basically in the letter that we write to these birth moms, it says, so you don't have to leave the hospital with empty arms. Only a birth mom would know that. To leave the hospital with nothing in your arms is so painful. It doesn't make it better, but in that moment of the hardest time, potentially the hardest time in her life, just to have something to hold, that's a lot of times what people talk about is just having that weighted heart. And then we've gotten feedback from our partner agencies who say the women sleep with them. That was a part of their hospital experience. And then to be able to take that home as they start on their adoption journey.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, so we just want to see it continue to grow and to make an impact and to meet these women right at the start of their adoption journey.
I love that. Is there a way hopeful adoptive parents can access those bags to give to the moms
Yeah.
when they're matched with them
Yes.
or when they first meet?
Yeah, so we're hoping to have them in our store pretty soon. We hear from so many people like, what do you give a woman when she's in the hospital?
Yeah.
What's that perfect gift? And there is no perfect gift. It's a hard, hard time. And so this is an opportunity just to say, you're seen, you're valued. Let us help you find community while you launch into this adoption journey. So we're hoping to have those in our store really soon because there is such a need for what do we give? What do we do? The hospital
Yeah.
experience is so tough for everyone. Hopefully this will kind of make it a little bit better.
I love that. And I definitely want to get those in the hands of some of our
Yeah.
families for either when they go to the hospital or even before that when they meet for the first
Sure.
time. And that's lovely. I love that. So you talked about how most of the birth moms you work with are post placement. I know that that
Yes.
can be like the loneliest chapter and the least talked about out loud, especially for the first
Sure.
12 months. So, what actually helps a mom, a birth mom, in that window? And where do very well intentioned adoptive parents get it wrong?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, tough question because everybody's situation is so different. And everybody's healing journey is so different, where you have some moms who are like, okay, everything's great. I'm just going to go back into my normal life. But really, your life is totally turned upside down. What is normal? I think it's kind of a twofold answer. So for birth moms, I think it's really important to find community, whether that's other birth parents or it's just people that you can talk to and just be raw and real and like, this is hard. This is really hard. I think for adoptive parents, the best advice I could give is just be consistent. Just be consistent. Whatever you promised that you would do before baby, step up and do it after. I don't care how busy you are. I don't care if this baby's crying all the time. Be consistent. She is waiting for those promises to come through, or she's waiting for you to fail. So please, like, just be consistent and be open and tell us the good stuff. Tell us the hard stuff.
That's interesting. I think we're so
Yeah.
scared to do that.
We want to know. We want to know. In my own journey, one of my favorite pictures that I received, now this would have been maybe age 3 or 4, was when my daughter had chicken pox. I got a picture of her with full-on chicken pox. But it was like, oh, they're real. They're like normal people having
Yeah.
hard times. And little did Barb know, when I was a little girl, I had chicken pox and I have scars from it. So it was a connection that was made through a simple picture. And so I think so many parents, and I haven't been on the adoptive parent side, so I don't understand that journey, but I can assume that there's such a desire to present as perfect.
Yes. We don't want to let you down.
Right. They made these fabulous books that everything is perfect. You check the spelling and the grammar, and then life happens and it's not perfect.
Yeah.
And for birth parents to be able to see they're not perfect just like me, it's okay. That they're
Yeah.
trying their best. I hear a lot of birth parents talk about who better to brag to than the birth parents. So for adoptive parents to say like, oh my goodness, this is what happened. I had to send
Yeah.
a text to the birth mom and tell her. It just makes us feel involved and valued. And so I think for that first year, just being so consistent and being transparent and knowing you don't have to be perfect, taking that off of your shoulders and enjoying this next stage of the journey, I think can be so beautiful and healing for the adoptive parents and for the birth parents.
Yeah. I think as adoptive parents, it's this commitment, right? It's a heavy commitment. You chose us to be
Right.
a certain
Right.
kind of parent that you didn't think you could be. And
Yeah.
so, what are you expecting of us? We don't want to
Yeah.
let you down. We want to fulfill what you thought you were
Yep.
choosing us for. And we don't want to
Yeah.
show you when it gets really hard or when we're like hating our child in a certain moment
Yeah.
or when they have failed, right? Because
Right.
maybe that's a reflection on me. And that's really, really hard to think about as an adoptive parent. Like, I don't think I should share this with them. And
Yeah.
you're saying, no, do share it. Share that you're human.
it.
Share how you work through it.
Yes.
And
yes.
yeah.
And it's so important as the timeline goes on. If there are struggles that the child is having, talk to the birth family. It might be something genetic. There's history that you might not have. I have the gift of hindsight now, and now that I'm a mom and my kids are grown, but I could easily reach out to Barb and be like, hey, did my daughter struggle with math? Because this one sure is, or this one isn't.
Done that, yep.
There's so many reasons to stay connected in a healthy way. And there are situations clearly where you can't. And so I want to be sensitive to that. But at the same time, just being a human, and for adoptive parents to receive the gift of, you were chosen, you were picked. And just like you don't expect birth parents to be perfect all the time, we don't expect you to be perfect all the time. So and I think that's so important.
We need to internalize that sometimes.
And give grace to yourself, because parenting is hard. Parenting is hard, and then to know, like, okay, what do the birth parents expect? And I do also want to throw out there, going back to one of your questions, I hear from birth parents during the time when I was pregnant, they were doing so much. We were communicating so much. And then after the baby came, what did I do? Then the birth parents are internalizing, what did I do? Why aren't they communicating as much? And so I really want to encourage these hopeful adoptive parents to really look at, during that exciting time of we've been matched, we've been chosen, really looking at the communication that we have right now, is that sustainable for after placement? What we're promising, like a text every 3 days, is that sustainable after baby comes? And making sure that whatever they do post-placement, is it going to hurt the birth parent to say, what did I do to make that communication drop off?
That's so hard, though, because you're talking about a very set period of time where if you can keep up once a month, you can't do that during pregnancy if she's due in 2 months, right? So you need to show her that you're interested in her and excited about her. But to your point, maybe somehow communicating that, like, obviously this is an intense time and we're going to be talking more, and I know that will fade a little bit, and I don't want you to take that as blah, blah, blah. We're just in different periods. But I think a conversation like that would be really helpful, because I think you're right. We need to stay consistent and yet be really cognizant of where we are in space, right? Where we are in the period of this journey. And even right after pregnancy, I always tell the families, it could feel really intense with the communication from her right now. She has just given birth. She has just let go of what she's carried, and you are just becoming a parent. So you want the time and space, but she needs you. And so you need to figure out that balance, just like you did when she was pregnant, and then it will get into a regular routine. And I think conversations on both sides, from the agency with the mom, from the family with the mom, that would be really helpful.
And asking those questions of, what can we do to help you? And being okay with her saying, like, I don't know, because she might not know.
We're all making it up as we go along.
Right. Where is that great book of how to do adoption? Like, so I think being confident in this relationship and knowing, going into this, we're strangers and we're going to figure this out together, because we love each other, we care about each other, we want what's best for each other, so that the child wins in the end, I think is so important. But being okay having those tough conversations. And if a birth mom drops off in communication, it's okay to reach out and say, hey, we miss you. We'd love to hear an update. And sometimes I've heard from adoptive families that say, she's dropped off. How do we reconnect? I'm like, just send a letter. Just reach out. If she doesn't want to read it, or if she doesn't want to see that text, she won't look at it.
But that doesn't mean you should stop. Unless she tells you to.
And even if she stops. Stay consistent. And because your kid's watching you. Your child is watching you.
Back to that. Yes, I love that. You were saying you have the gift of hindsight, right? So you had an open relationship for 30-something years, right? So what did that look like at 5 years versus 15 versus 30?
Such a great
and
question.
What kind of surprised you?
Oh, so much. I wish we could do like a video fast forward of my life. You'd be like, whoa, that was a lot.
I mean, you have a great video team. You probably could.
It's coming out. So my adoption was open when she was about 6 years old. That's because the laws in Virginia changed. Prior to that, it was all mediated through the agency. I very much stuck to those rules. I worked at the adoption agency. So my file was in a separate lockbox that I could not get into. And I was like, no, I cannot know their last name. I cannot know where they live. I followed all of those rules. And then when she was around 6, the laws changed and the adoptive parents reached out to the agency and said, we want to meet Janelle. And it was such a moment where I thought I wouldn't have that opportunity until she was 18. So at that stage of my life, I was married. We had about a 1-year-old son. My husband clearly knew all about my adoption journey. I met him just a few months after the placement of my daughter, and so he had been around a long time. It was just an amazing experience for me to see her pop out of a minivan at a park and see this child that I had watched grow up for 6 years in letters and pictures. It was just a moment of, I didn't know if I wanted to cry, if I wanted to vomit, if I wanted to just pass out.
I hope you didn't throw up in front of her.
I didn't.
Okay, good.
I
You
just
held
kind
it
of
in.
stood there. Yeah, I stood there. I was like, I want to remember this feeling forever.
Yeah.
Because my husband's chasing my 1-year-old. I'm watching her jump out of this minivan and her parents and her siblings. And I'm like, I never thought this would happen. Ever. So that was early 2000s. And we just started building a relationship. We connected in letters and pictures. There's something beautiful about that. Technology wasn't what it is today. And so I have a whole box of letters that
That's
start with
beautiful.
Dear Janelle, love, Barb and Dale. And for years people would say, if your house catches on fire, what's that one thing you'd grab? That box. That's my most prized
I have
possession.
chills. Yeah.
Yeah. And everything just kind of went in fast forward. I never got a fancy name of like birth mama J, or I've just always been Janelle. I've just always been consistent.
And did you choose that? Did they choose that? Are you okay with that?
I'm totally fine with it. I love when I hear her say my name. Like, it's music to my ears. But I don't think people realize when they make an adoption plan and they say, oh, I want an open adoption, it is so fluid. Things happen in my life, things happen in their life. Adoption at 5 was very closed and my world was very small. Adoption at 10 was going to soccer games and cheering her on, and we were building traditions where every Christmas I would send a stocking for each one of the children in the family full of gifts, and then after Christmas they would mail the stocking back.
Oh my God, I love that. For all her kids, not just the one you birthed. Okay.
Yep.
Love that.
Yep. I adore her siblings. Yeah, I adore
And I've
them.
heard that a lot. People are often nervous. Well, what if one has a closed adoption and then we adopt again and it's open? What's going to happen? And I say more often than not, she's going to kind of include.
Well, and all it took was Barb saying, thank you so much for sending all those gifts at Christmas, but the other two might not get the same type of thing. I'm like, done. I'll do it for all of them. Not a problem.
Okay. And that was probably not an easy conversation for her to have, but that's one of those tough conversations. Yeah.
It was such a gift for me.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I've got this. Let me do this for these kids. And now they're adults and they would probably roll their eyes and say like, oh, stop it, Janelle. But
Oh, I thought the opposite. What happened to them? Keep them coming.
right. Year 15, it got really interesting because that's when this transition happens. Now the agency isn't involved anymore. And all of a sudden, Catherine, my daughter, is a teenager who now has a phone, who now can text, so the relationship shifted from me communicating with Barb to me communicating with Catherine. I am so, so thankful that Catherine watched Barb for all of those years to say, okay, this is what communication with Janelle should look like. So what Mom did for all those years, Catherine mimicked. If Janelle sent a text, Catherine responded. Janelle responded. While she was going through identity stuff, if there were comments that were made, or at visits, if there were comments that were made, it was, hey, let's go talk to your mom about this. This was a trust building time of our lives. And it's tough because at that point, it's now turning into what kind of communication does she want? And I have to be okay with this. I have
I
to. I
am
have to
in
sit
that
in that.
same spot right now where my son has direct communication. And so sometimes I was like, am I still supposed to communicate with,
Yeah,
his
it's so
family? Do they
hard.
want to hear from me? They're hearing from him that he is mostly communicating with his siblings, and it shifts. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's so many birth parents that are like, what just happened? What happened?
Ah,
And with boys, maybe they don't want to talk to their birth parents. They don't want to talk to their parents. They don't
anyone.
want to, like, what do they want to do? And so I hear that all the time. That transition in those teenage years, it's tough. And birth parents just kind of have to be like, what just happened? And they have to realize it's a season. It's a season. You have to be consistent. And to be able to say to the adoptive parents, like, this feels weird. Did I do anything wrong? How is he? And now that there's an adjustment. When Catherine, right before she was 20, she went through her own unplanned pregnancy, and everything shifted. Everything in the relationship. And some really beautiful moments happened where she wasn't the one that shared with me that she was pregnant. It was actually the adoptive mom came and met with me and said, hey, this is what we're walking through right now. And I was like, whoa, okay, we got this. We got her. We'll figure this out. And I watched her transition from this teenage girl into a woman, and I could not be prouder of the person that she became. Probably one of the highlights of my adoption journey, and I don't want to cry, is when she was in labor. Her adoptive mom called me, and I'm 2 hours away. I'm like, do I go to the hospital? Do I not? Like, what are the rules? I don't know. And she was having a hard time with labor, and her mom called, and she's like, can you come? And I'm like, done. I'm there. And so while she was laboring, I'm sitting there with the adoptive mom beside me, and we're watching our daughter, and I'm like, whoa, whoa. And it hit me in that moment that here's this amazing woman that 20 years prior, I was in that same situation, and now she's walking her own daughter through that. And she never had a birthing experience. So this is all new to her. And here I am like, no, this is what should be happening, and advocate in this way. And it was just a moment of, wow, God, how did this happen? This is unreal. And what a gift for Catherine to be able to sit there and be like, there's my mom's. Like,
Yeah.
and that relationship. And I think that's where my gift of hindsight kicked in. It was like, this is now my okay moment. This is where I can say, we're good. We made it. Because now she launched into motherhood. She has an amazing son now who will often text me and be like, hey, can you get me a dog? I'm like, no, dude, I'm not getting you a dog. But
That one's for your mom.
right. I'm like, hey, Catherine, you need to get your son's phone. But what Barb and I realized all those decades ago is Barb built a foundation. And my husband's a contractor, so I go into like building mode. She built this foundation that is now generational, generational, generational. So what Barb, the adoptive mom, poured into me, poured into my family, the kids that I have with my husband. We never had to be quiet about adoption. We never had to treat it like it was secret or that we had to whisper
Yeah.
when I said Catherine's name. They were welcome to everything. Catherine was welcome into our home. And now her son, he sits there and he's like, hey, I have so many grandparents. And I'm like, wow, what a horrible problem. So how many
I
other
know, right.
grandparents are you texting asking for a dog? Like,
Right.
you know,
Why don't you
it's
text
so-
the other grandparents? Not
Right.
me.
I'm like, text him. But I don't think we could have ever grasped back in 1994 the huge picture. And my life was so small back then. My world was so small. And now it's generations. And I have a 26-year-old son and a 23-year-old daughter who I was texting with my daughter earlier this week, and I'm like, hey, we need to go get my grandson. It's summertime. We need to snag him for a week and have some time with him before he goes back to school. That's all because we did that hard work at the beginning and saw each other as just people trying to do their best for the sake of Catherine.
Well, and I want to bring it back to the fact that it did just start with pictures and letters
Yeah.
because that was the
Yep.
contract, right?
Yep. Yep.
And that's how it started. And that's how it starts for a lot of hopeful adoptive parents. But what I want to say is that contract that you sign, number one, look at it as the minimum. Number two,
Sure.
look at it
Sure.
as a place to start. And
Yep.
hopefully you have bigger dreams for it as the
Yeah.
birth mom does, as your child will. And
Yeah.
have it evolve like this perfect story that we're hearing right now about how that evolved from just sending pictures and letters.
Yeah. Yep. And it is interesting when that transition happened and she became a mom, she got that title. My relationship with the adoptive mom has kind of broken off. And she got this title of grandmother, and we don't communicate as much, but when we do, it's pretty daggone amazing to
Yeah.
sit there. And now I'm an older woman and we can sit there and be like, wow, I can't believe we got through all of this.
It's a family member you just don't see all the time, but when
Yes.
you do, you have a lot to
Yes.
talk about.
Yeah. And for her to know that Catherine is loved by so many people. And it started because she was consistent with those letters and pictures.
Yes, I love that.
Yep.
What's the biggest lie the adoption industry tells birth moms, and how are adoptive parents unknowingly, reinforcing that even when they mean well?
Sure. That adoption is beautiful. It hurts. It really, really hurts. And so when you have those moments of feeling really sad or alone and you're like, but this was a gift, it all goes back to language. Or sometimes I'll see different things where the birth parent has the control of how much communication they want to have. They can choose adoptive parents who say, we want to have open or whatever type of communication they want. But after the placement, it's really the adoptive parents who have the control on communication. And with that communication comes healing. So I would think that's probably one of the hardest things.
I'm curious about that. Adoption is beautiful. I believe it can be. I believe a lot of people think it is on all
Sure.
sides.
Yep.
Why is that triggering? That one strikes
Stuck
me
with you?
that you said that. No, that you just said
Yeah.
that. I am surprised by it. Hearing your story, I would think you would say adoption has been beautiful.
Yeah. And I do. I do.
Okay.
But I know that there's a lot of people where adoption hasn't been beautiful.
Yes.
And so to put that tag on it without recognizing the icky parts about adoption, in my own story, when the placement happened, I wasn't there. I wasn't allowed to be there. I didn't give my daughter, I didn't place her in their arms. And I was sitting on a blue couch in my house, a state away, watching TV as they were welcoming their daughter into their lives, into their family. That was not a beautiful moment. That was not beautiful.
It can work into beautiful. It can work into beauty.
And you have to do that hard work. And so I think just recognizing there are such beautiful moments,
Yes, beautiful moments.
but it takes a lot of hard work to be able to say, man, adoption is beautiful. Everybody has to put their own label on it. My adoption is beautiful, but I don't want to put that label on anybody else's adoption. It's not just my story, it's the adoptive parent's story, it's Catherine's story. Would she say the same thing? I hope
Yeah.
so. So I think we just need to be very careful. Adoption can be beautiful. It could open up many doors. It can just enrich your lives in ways that you would have never guessed. But it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work.
I love that. Thank you so much for bringing that to our attention because,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, just good meaning people saying things that you don't know how things are going to land for everybody.
Sure.
You can't speak for everyone and say adoption's beautiful because that's not
Yeah.
the case. And all members of the triad, you have to take it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. If you could change one thing about the ethics around infant adoption in America
Yes.
tomorrow, one shift, one wish, how would you protect birth moms more? What would this shift be? What
Yeah.
thoughts come to mind?
I just want more transparency in adoption. Thinking about the expectant moms, just more respect. We have feelings, we have a story, we have a future, and we're not just somebody coming into an adoption agency saying, I need help. This is a lifelong decision that we're going to live with. And so taking that time and having a safe place to be able to make that decision. I always say to flirt with the idea of parenting, because you should have that opportunity to go back and forth on your decision and be supported as you're making those decisions, given all of the tools to look into parenting or adoption. There's so much that we need to do. The Adopt Act is being talked about, and I hope that every listener will look into that and call your senator or whoever to say, get behind the Adopt Act. There's so much in that. There just needs to be more awareness. Advertising and adoption for adoption agencies, like a woman should be able to find resources in her area and not be hit with Google ads from agencies in different states. We just need to do better. We just need to do better for the sake of these women and for the sake of the kids.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Janelle. You have provided so many golden nuggets in this conversation. I really appreciate your time and your vulnerability in sharing parts of your story as well, and just helping us all to become better. Before I let you go, I do have a quick fire round. All right, the first one is give a shout out to one person or organization that's influenced your adoption journey or the work you're doing in adoption.
Oh, okay. I'm going to have to say Family Life Services. Incredible adoption agency. I use them for my own daughter's placement. Still 32 years into this journey, if I called and said I need help, doors would be open and they'd say, come on over.
Awesome. What's one piece of advice for hopeful adoptive parents that you'd give, even if it's not what they want to hear?
Yeah. Oh, it's a journey. It is just a journey, and to give yourself grace through this journey and know that the work that you're going to be pouring into this child's life, into the birth parent's life, can completely change generations, and go for it. It's so, so worth it.
Where has joy shown up for you in adoption?
Oh, man. Looking at my grandson. Man, you got me with this one. Being able to look at my grandson. Man, it's too early in the day for this. And then the children that I have with my husband, I didn't know that my life would turn out so good. And so I'm so thankful that they have a relationship with their sister and they can be an aunt and an uncle. So yeah, that's where my joy comes from.
I love it.
Oh, you got me.
Describe adoption in 3 words.
Complex. You know what? I'm going to go back to beautiful. For me, beautiful. And I just think it's a journey. It's always evolving and always changing.
It is. Thank you so much, Janelle, for being here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. This has been a great conversation.
I think so too. Boy, what a gift to sit across from a woman with 32 years of hindsight, who can tell us honestly what worked, what didn't, and what she'd whisper to every hopeful adoptive parent listening. Be consistent, be transparent, be a human, and remember your child is always watching how you love the people who made their story possible. It gives me chills. Adoption isn't automatically beautiful, but the way you show up can build a foundation that goes generational. Janelle is living proof. If today's episode moved you, go visit BraveLove.org for the free resources, the birth mom dinners, and the hope and healing bags that hopefully we can all get our hands on soon. And Janelle, thank you for being brave enough to keep telling us the truth. If you are at the start of your journey and trying to figure out whether a consultant is the right call for your family, book a complimentary adoption strategy session with my team. The link is in the show notes. We'll tell you straight whether it's a fit or not and what we'd recommend either way. Follow the Adoption Roadmap wherever you get your podcasts and find me on Instagram at The Adoption Roadmap for tips, education, held space, and joyful celebration. And if you loved this episode, please leave a 5-star rating and review. You might just hear your name at the top of a future show, and it really does mean the world to me. Adoption is not just a destination, it's a journey filled with love, resilience, and growth. Wherever you are on this roadmap, trust in your path, stay open to learning, and always lead with your heart. You already have everything you need to create a beautiful story for your family, and when the road takes unexpected detours, I'm here to help you navigate every turn along the adoption roadmap. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope this episode gave you something to think about, or better yet, something to take action on. If you have questions about anything we talked about today, or if there's a topic you'd love to hear on the show, please shoot me an email at support@rgadoptionconsulting.com. I read every single email, and don't forget, you can find all the resources from today's episode in the show notes, including links to connect with me and take the next step in your adoption journey. If you haven't already yet, hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and if you're feeling generous, leave a 5-star review. It helps more than you know. Thanks so much for listening. See you next week. Bye-bye.